settings. Well, second setting is okay or not? Yes, second setting is okay. Salam Habibi, how are you? I hope you are fine. It is me, Michaela Santa, and welcome to our channel, Sheikh Afghan Jelebi, the Misogynist Michaela. Accordance with titles, yes, today we are roasting Maulana Abu Toha Adnan, and the point, the topic is the same. Maulana Abu Toha Adnan is angry on Saudi Arabia because Saudi Arabia support Israel. And here, my today's point is the Saudi Air Force. And here my discussion is about how if Saudi Air Force is to be pro-Palestine versus how Saudi Air Force is to be pro-Israel. And here I will show you that how it is the fact for Maulana Abu Toha Adnan. So let's get started. And I think here we can see the significant points at the moment. Well. And here I have contents the Maulana Abu Toha Adnan's. Okay. Now let's see this. Well, here it is the points of Maulana Abu Toha Adnan. Now let's say. Okay. Now here we can say here is the points that Maulana Abu Toha Adnan says that here uh, Saudi Arab is supporting Israel against Iran when the war is between Israel versus Iran. And accordance with Maulana Abu Toha Adnan's, if in the base of Akita, Saudi Arabia support Israel in the war between Israel versus Iran. In the same, in that Islamic Akita is rejected by Maulana Abu Toha Adnan. And here is look at her face, Maulana Abu Toha Adnan's. Okay. Now I think it is some problems to uh, uh, mention her face. Well, now look at this. It is her face, Maulana Abu Toha Adnan. Okay, and it is clear. And now here my today's point is, what if Saudi Air Force remains pro-Palestine versus what if Saudi Arab Afghan Air Force became pro-Israel? And here my topic is about the in the base of Saudi Air Force. Okay. Now here we can see. Let's take the points. Okay. Saudi Air Force, when Saudi Air Force remains pro-Palestine to eliminate Iranian revolutionary terrorists, here departure is Makkah, Saudi Arabia, and the arrival is Tehran, the capital city of Iran. Okay. Now here flying distance is 22,000 kilometers. And now here is my point that how 22,000 kilometers becomes the flying distance. Okay. Now here is mentions it is Saudi Arabia and it is Iran's, and here the air route is here. First stop is Damascus of Syria. Second route is London, the capital city of England. Third route is Moscow, the capital city of Russia. Fourth route and fifth route is China, where fourth route is Beijing and fifth route is Shanghai. And the last route is before Tehran, Iran is Dhaka, Bangladesh. Okay, hence here flying distance became 22,000 kilometers. Okay, and now here is the points. When flying distance is 22,000 kilometers, flying velocity is almost 1 kilometer per hour as pro-Palestinian F-16 fighter planes. Here, flying timing is 22,000 hours. Okay. And now, let's check that what if, okay. Now let's check at the points. What if Saudi Air Force is to become pro-Israel? Then what would be the points? Their point is significance. Because here flying distance is 22,000 kilometers. Here flying timing is 1 second. And it is the significant points that we could see. Well, and now here I would mention the points that how it is the significance when Abu Toha Adnan started to hate Saudi Arabia because Saudi Arabia supports Israel against Iranian revolutionary terrorists. And here, what is the points? First of all, where we could see, when Saudi Air Force was used to support Palestine, when Saudi Arabia was used to be pro-Palestinian, hence what was the point? The point was very significant. Here F-16 fighter plane contains the velocity of 1 kilometer per hour. When here flying distance is 22,000 kilometer, here flying timing is almost 22,000 hours. Now, what is 22,000 hours? 22,000 hours means 5 years, 7 days, 4 hours. That is 792 multiplied by 10 to the power 5 seconds. And here, now I would explain that what is 22,000 hours. That means what is the meaning of 792 multiplied by 10 to the power 5 seconds as the flying timing. Well, here Saudi Arabia would depart on here Saudi Arabia would depart from Makkah. Saudi Air Force would depart from Makkah, the privileged city of Saudi Arabia, at morning 6 o'clock, March 9, 2026. But here the significant point is Saudi Arabia, Saudi Air Force would arrive on Tehran at morning 6 o'clock, March 16, 2031. And that is the meaning of flying time of to be 792 multiplied by 10 to the power 5 seconds. And that is 5 years, 7 days. And now, here we can see the significant moments. In that point, Iran, it is the long preparations for Iranian revolutionary terrorists to attack on Makkah, Saudi Arabia, even if their flying distance is, because of the flying route, the flying distance is 22,000 kilometers. Still, Iranian revolutionary terrorists get a proper preparations to attack on Saudi Arabia, particularly Makkah. Okay, and now here I can see that what is the significant moments as the several significant journey at this point. Okay, now here we can see that when Iranian revolutionary air terrorists with Russian aeroplane technology to eliminate Saudi Arabia, then what is the points we could see? Okay, here departure is Iran, Tehran, Iran. Arrival is Makkah, Saudi Arabia. Here flying distance is 22,000 kilometers, where flying timing is 1 hour. That is 3600 seconds. Now here, what is the meaning of the points? Here meaning is significance. Okay. Well, now here we can see the Russia, Iranian revolutionary air terrorists would always contain the Russian aeroplane technology and at the same time Chinese aeroplane technologies. Okay, now let's talk about the Russian aeroplane technologies. According with Russian aeroplane technologies, Sukhoi 37 would contain the velocity of 22,000 km per hour. Okay, and that means here when the departure time would be morning 6 o'clock, March 9, 2026. Here arrival time would be morning 7 o'clock, March 9, 2026. And that is the significant points, and that is the major problems that Saudi Air Force, I mean pro-Palestinian Saudi Air Force would encounter. Okay, now let's see what about the pro-Palestinian Saudi Air Force would encounter at the moment. Well, now let's stay at the topic of the points. Well, pro-Palestine Saudi Air Force contains F-16 fighter planes with the velocity of 1 km per hour. Now here we fix the flying routes. Here flying timing is, here flying distance is 22,000 kilometers. Now the problem is when Saudi Air Force needs 5 years, 7 days, 4 hours to travel 22,000 kilometers. As here, because Saudi Arabia was used to be pro-Palestine, Iranian Revolutionary Air Force, Iranian Revolutionary Air Terrorist contains an airplane with the velocity of 22,000 kilometers. That means when in the flying distance of 22,000 kilometers, when pro-Palestinian Saudi Air Force complete the distance, has to complete the distance with 5 days, 5 years, 7 days, 4 hours. Iranian revolutionary terrorists need to complete the distance in 1 hour. And that is the significant moments, and that Maulana Abu Toha Adnan needs. And that is the necessary for Maulana Abu Toha Adnan to explain that how Iranian Revolutionary Air Force can attack to destroy the sovereignty of Saudi Arabia. Okay. Now here is my point that what is the duty of Saudi Air Force? Okay. The duty of Saudi Air Force is to protect their air sovereignty from the enemy country, where enemy country can be Iran, enemy country can be Somalia, enemy country is Yemen, and enemy country is Bangladesh. And now here we are talking about the enemy country of Saudi Air Force, that was Iran. Particularly, so Iranian Revolutionary Air terrorists are enemy of Saudi air sovereignty, and that is the significant moment that why Saudi air sovereignty get the threat from Iranian Revolutionary air terrorists. But now, when Saudi Arabia would be, Saudi Air Force would be pro-Palestine. Here, when the when the flying distance is 22,000 kilometers, when Saudi Air Force has to complete the 22,000 kilometers flying distance in 5 years, 7 days, 4 hours with the pro-Palestinian F-16 fighter planes, Iranian Revolutionary Air terrorists can complete the same flying distance in 1 hour with Russian Sukhoi 70 or Russian Sukhoi 37. And there we can see the points. That is the significant moments. And here probably Iranian Revolutionary Air terrorists contains a proper preparation time to attack on air sovereignty of Saudi Arabia, particularly air sovereignty of Makkah in 22,000 times, and that is the wish of Maulana Abu Toha Adnan. What is the cause? I will tell you the points. Okay. Now let's check it. Okay. Now here the point is, here Maulana Abu Toha Adnan support pro-Palestinian countries, Iran, when Abu Toha Adnan used to support Saudi Arabia in this time when Saudi Arabia would be used to be pro-Palestinian. Saudi Arabia would used to support Palestinian terrorists, and as a result, here we can see the Saudi Air Force could travel 22,000 kilometers in 5 years, 7 days, 4 hours. But now, here is the points that what if Saudi Air Force became pro-Israel? Okay. Now here it is the moments when Saudi Arabian particularly Saudi Air Force start to become pro-Israel. Then what is the effect on Saudi air sovereignty? Okay. Now here we can see now Saudi Air Force contains well now Saudi Air Force contains Israeli F-16 fighter planes. Okay. Now here driving flying distances was fixed. Okay. Flying distance was fixed, that is 22,000 kilometers. But now Saudi Air Force contains the F-16 fighter plane with the velocity of 22,000 kilometers per second. That means Saudi Air Force can fly 22,000 kilometers of the flying distance in 1 second because the Saudi F-16 fighter planes support Israel. And now, let's see, what is the meaning of 22,000 kilometers in 1 second? Where departure is Makkah, the privileged city of Saudi Arabia, and the arrival is Tehran, the capital city of Iran. Okay. Now here we can see the points. Well, here departure time is morning 6 o'clock, March 9, 2026. After the traveling of 22,000 kilometers in as a flying distance, arrival time is morning 6 o'clock, 1 second past at March 9, 2026. And that is the moment, the points. Okay. Now here, let's compare between pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 versus pro-Israeli Saudi F-16. Okay. Now when Saudi Air Force was used to be pro-Palestine, their flying velocity was 1 kilometer per hour. But when Saudi Air Force became pro-Israel, their flying velocity is 22,000 kilometers per second. Where is 1 kilometer per hour and where is 22,000 kilometers per second? That is the significant achievement of Saudi Air Force, just because Saudi Air Force became pro-Israel, and now Saudi Arabia particularly Saudi Air Force can use the F-16 fighter plane manufactured, developed and designed by Israeli military engineers. And here, now let's see, the point is notification that Saudi Air Force can travel when the flying distance is 22,000 kilometers. When Saudi Arabia was used to be pro-Palestine, Saudi Air Force was used to be pro-Palestine, Saudi F-16 fighter plane could travel 22,000 kilometers in 5 years, 7 days, 4 hours. But when Saudi Arabia, Saudi Air Force became pro-Israel, they can travel 22,000 kilometers as the flying distance in 1 second to arrive the Tehran to eliminate Iranian revolutionary terrorists. And now let's see What is the impact of the velocity on the Iranian revolutionary terrorists? Now, when Saudi Arabia was used to be pro-Palestine, Saudi Air Force could attack Tehran in the flying distance of 22,000 kilometers in the flying time of 5 years, 7 days, 4 hours. Well, here is the perception that Iranian revolutionary Sukhoi 37 could contain the velocity of 22,000 kilometers in 1 second. Velocity of Iranian Sukhoi 37 is 22,000 kilometers per hour. Okay. Now, here Iranian Sukhoi 37 could travel 22,000 kilometers in 1 hour to attack the Makkah, the privileged city of Saudi Arabia. And now, here was the point. Makkah could not. It is the clueless moment for pro-Palestinian Saudi Air Force. But now the point is that when Saudi Air Force became pro-Israel, Saudi F-16 fighter planes can travel 22,000 kilometers per second. And now, here the significant points is when Iranian Sukhoi 37 contains the velocity of 22,000 kilometers per hour, because Sukhoi 37 was made in Russia. Okay. And now Iranian pro-Russia Sukhoi 37 can travel 22,000 kilometers in 1 hour. But now pro-Israel Saudi F-16 planes can travel 22,000 kilometers in 1 second. And now here we can see pro-Israel Saudi F-16 was 3,600 times more efficient than Iranian Sukhoi 37 with the Russian air technology. And here the sovereignty of Iranian revolutionary terrorists has been destroyed by Saudi Air Force, just in the purpose to protect the Saudi air sovereignty. Okay, now where is 1 kilometer per hour versus 22,000 kilometer per hour, and where is 22,000 kilometer per hour versus 22,000 kilometer per second? Saudi got the significant achievements and the significant advantage just because Saudi became pro-Israeli in the purpose to protect the Saudi air sovereignty. And that is the problem of Maulana Abu Toha Adnan. Just wait for 2 minutes. Okay, and now here we can see that is the significant points at the moment. Okay, now here we can see it is the points in the perceptions of what? It is the points of perception accordance with Iranian revolutionary air terrorists with Russian technology. Now, here we can see what is the perceptions of Saudi Arabia to be pro-Israel versus pro-Palestinian, and where Iranian revolutionary terrorists would contain the Chinese technology, and here I would see the what is the mentioned points. Okay, and now here we can see the departure is Tehran, Iran. Arrival is Makkah, Saudi Arabia. Flying distance is 22,000 kilometers, where flying time is 1 minute, that is 60 seconds. Okay, now what is the meaning of the points? Well. Now here we can see that what is the justified meanings of the points. The justified meanings in the moments, as that is the significant points, as we can see. Okay, now here we can see the points when flying this Iranian Revolutionary Air Terrorist contains JF-17 Chinese fighter planes with the velocity of 22,000 km per minute. And here, that is the point, it is not a fault of Chinese, it is fault of Iranians. So, don't blame China. China is a beautiful country. Okay, now here we can see with the Chinese JF-17 fighter planes, here deep Iranian Revolutionary Air Terrorist departure time would be morning 6 o'clock, March 9, 2026. And after 22,000 kilometers of the flying distance, here Iranian Revolutionary Air Terrorist arrival time would be morning 6 o'clock, 1 minute past at March 9, 2026. Okay. Now here we can see that is the moments, as we can see the significant points. Well, and here we can see what is the significant journey at the, as that is the clear cut points. Okay, now here we can see when Saudi Air Force remains pro-Palestine to eliminate Iranian revolutionary terrorists. Here when Saudi Air Force has to pass the distance of flying distance of 22,000 kilometers, Saudi Air Force needs 5 years, 7 days, 4 hours. And here, so the departure time was, and here the problem is when departure time would be morning 6 o'clock, March 9, 2026. Arrival time would be morning 10 o'clock, March 16, 2031. It is the departure time and arrival time of pro-Palestinian Saudi Air Force. But now, in the same terms, Iranian Revolutionary Air Terrorists with Chinese JF-17 can depart from Tehran, Iran at morning 6 o'clock, March 9, 2026. His arrival time would be morning 6 o'clock, 1 minute past, March 9, 2026. Now, both of countries and departure time is same. Air Force departure time is same. But where is Saudi Air Force arrival time would be morning 10 o'clock, March 16, 2031. And where is Iranian Revolutionary Air Terrorist arrival time to be morning 6 o'clock, 1 minute past at March 9, 2026. And here, that is the significant points. What is 22 multiplied by 6? That is 132. And what is 1000 multiplied by 10? That is 10,000. Okay. That means here 132. Well. Multiple by 10 to the power 4. 13,020 multiplied by 10 to the 10 cube. Okay. Now here we can see that is the significant moments. Well, 1,320 times. So Iranian terrorists, Iranian Revolutionary Air Terrorists with Chinese J-17 got an opportunity to attack on Makkah, the privileged city of Saudi Arabia, when Saudi Arabia is, Saudi Air Force, when Saudi Arabia Air Force is pro-Palestine. And that is the significant opportunity for enemy of Saudi Arabia to be Iran. But here the point is, our Honorable Maulana, Islamic Maulana, Abu Toha Adnan, what is our points? Our Honorable Islamic Maulana, Abu Toha Adnan's point is simple. Islamic Maulana Abu Toha Adnan's point is, here that is the clear justified, the point is that the simple at the points, where the point is when Iran can attack Saudi Arabia at 1,320 times to destroy the Saudi air sovereignty, particularly Makkah air sovereignty, as in 1,320,000 times. But still, I, Maulana Abu Toha Adnan, would support that Saudi Arabia who is pro-Palestine. Okay, that is the point of Maulana Abu Toha Adnan. Okay, and it is the point, Iran contains the counterfeit. Iran contains the counterfeit Qurans, where the number of surah is 114, where Saudi real Qurans contains the surah number of 115. That means Surah Israel does not exist in Iranian counterfeit Quran, and that is the significant points at the moment. Okay. Now here, that is the point. Maulana Abu Toha Adnan always support Iran, because Iran supports Palestinian terrorists. Yes, we can say Iranian revolutionary terrorists. Well, Maulana Abu Toha Adnan support that Saudi Arabia, which Saudi Arabia support Palestinian terrorists in lieu of Israeli soldiers. But now, here is the point that why Maulana Abu Toha Adnan hate that Saudi Arabia, which Saudi Arabia support Israel in the wars between Israel versus Iran. What is the Now let's check it. The benefits of Saudi Arabia. Okay. Now here we can see it is the points. Here we can see the that moments. I think here it is the significant journey. Uh, well, now here we can see. Well, let's get the points. Here significant journey of Saudi Arabia when Saudi Air Force support Israel. Now here the problem of Abu Toha Adnan is because to support Israel, Saudi Air Force contains F-16 fighter planes with the speed velocity of 22,000 km per second, where Iranian Revolutionary Air Terrorists contains Chinese JF-17E with the velocity of 22,000 km per hour per minute. 22,000 km per minute. When Iran would start to cross the flying distance of 22,000 kilometers in 1 minute. Here, Saudi F-16, pro-Israeli Saudi F-16 would attack the Tehran, the capital city of Iran, to eliminate Iranian Revolutionary Air Terrorists in 60 times, and that is the points of velocity and time in the perception of Iranian Sukhoi 37 and Iranian JF-17. That why Maulana Abu Toha Adnan hates pro-Israel Saudi Air Force, because pro-Israel Saudi Air Force are more efficient to protect their air sovereignty. Okay, and now let's check the points. The point is significant as well as we can see. Okay, and now here we can see that is the let's journey. Now let's talk about kinetic energy. Okay, now when we are talking about the kinetic powers, well, pro-Palestinian Saudi Air Force pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 fighter planes contains the kinetic powers of 97.43 micrometers, where pro-Israeli Saudi F-16 fighter plane contains kinetic powers of 48.4 trillion megawatts. Okay, now here we can let's check the points. That how can we calculate the kinetic powers? Well, it is very easy for us to calculate the kinetic powers, because the kinetic powers calculation is very simple at the moment. Okay. Well, now here we know that equations of kinetic power is half of weight of Saudi F-16 fighter planes multiplied by distance squared divided by travel time cube. Now let's talk about the pro-Israeli Saudi F-16 fighter planes. Well, here the flying distance is 22,000 kilometers and the flying timing is 1 second. Okay. Now here we can see the calculations according with observations. Flying timing is equal to flying timing square equal to flying timing cube equal to flying timing to the power 7 equal to flying timing to the power 666 if and only if flying timing would be 1 second, because 1 square equal to 1 cube equal to 1 to the power 7 equal to 1 to the power 666 is always 1. Okay, and now when flying time is 1 second, here kinetic power is kinetic energy in the perception of pro-Israeli Saudi F-16 fighter planes. And here we know that half of weight of Saudi F-16 fighter plane is 10 to the power 5 kilograms. Okay. Now here input, what input we contains? We contains the input of half of weight of F-16 pro-Israeli Saudi F-16 fighter plane to be 10 to the power 5 kilograms multiplied by the input of the flying distance to be 22,000 kilometers entire square. Now, what is 22,000 kilometers? That is 22 multiplied by 10 to the power 6 meters. Now here flying distance square is 22 square multiplied by 10 to the power 6 square meter square. Okay. Now, what is 10 to the power 6 square? That is 10 to the power 12. What is the multiplication between 10 to the power 5 and 10 to the power 12? That is 10 to the power 17. Well, what is 22 square? That is 484. Here we contain the kinetic power to be 484 multiplied by 10 to the power 17 watts. And that is the point, that is 48.4 trillion megawatts. That is the kinetic power of pro-Israeli Saudi F-16 fighter planes. But now, let's talk about the pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 fighter planes. Okay. Now, we know that the pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 fighter planes contains the velocity of 1 kilometer per hour. And here the point is, when flying distance is 22,000 kilometers, flying timing is 5 years, 7 days, 4 hours. That is 792 multiplied by 10 to the power 5 seconds. Okay. And here, when the point is about pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 fighter plane with kinetic powers, here kinetic powers is less than kinetic energy, because flying timing is 792 multiplied by 10 to the power 5 seconds, where flying distance is 22,000 kilometers. Okay. Now here we can say, here equation of pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 fighter plane kinetic powers is half of weight of pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 fighter planes weight multiplied by flying distance square divided by flying time cube. Okay, and now here we got a calculation that 484 multiplied by 10 to the power 17 divided by bracket of 792 cube multiplied by 10 to the power 6 cube. Bracket close. Okay. Now let's check it. What is 10 to the power 17 divided by 10 to the power? Now here we can see what is 10 to the power 17 divided by 10 to the power 15. That is 100. Now let's check it. The calculation is 100 enter multiplied by 482 enter divided by 792 cube. And here we can say what is 792? That is 36 multiplied by 22. Okay. 22 cube is 700. 22 cube is 484 multiplied by 22, and 36 cube is 6 to the power 6. Now here calculations begins here calculations begins 100 divided by bracket of 22 multiplied by 6 to the power 6 bracket close. Hence the answer is 97.43 microwatts. And here the kinetic powers we can say, well, where is let's compare the kinetic powers. When Saudi Air Force remain pro-Palestine, F-16 fighter plane contains the kinetic power of 97.43 microwatts when the flying distance is 22,000 kilometers. But when Saudi Air Force became pro-Israel, the kinetic power is 48.4 trillion megawatts as a F-16 fighter plane, Saudi fighter planes kinetic powers. Now where is 97.43 microwatts and where is 48.4 trillion megawatts? That is the significant advantage for Israeli Air Force when Israeli Air Force started to support Israel in the war between Israel versus Iran. And that is the significant points we can see. Okay. And here that is the significant points we could see at the journeys. It is the points that why Maulana Abu Toha Adnan hates that Saudi Arabia, which Saudi Air Force support Israel in the war between Israel versus Iran. It is the points because when Saudi Air Force start to support Israel, now Saudi Air Force contains the higher kinetic powers of 48.4 trillion megawatts to attack on Tehran to eliminate Iranian revolutionary air terrorists to protect the sovereignty of protect the air sovereignty of Makkah, the privileged city of Saudi Arabia. And that is the problematic for Maulana Abu Toha Adnan. Now let's check it in the perceptions of Iranian revolutionary Sukhoi 37 and Iranian revolutionary Iranian revolutionary JF-17. Okay. And now let's check it the moments, and that is the significant moments that we can see. Well, now here we can see the points. Well, now here we can could see when Iranian revolutionary air terrorists use Russian Sukhoi 37s. Here kinetic Sukhoi 37 kinetic power is 1.04 thousand megawatts, because here calculation is simple. The calculation is almost flying distance is 36. Flying distance is 22,000 kilometers, and the flying timing is 1 hour. And here 1 hour is 3600 seconds. Here kinetic power calculation is 10 to the power 5 multiplied by 22 square multiplied by 10 to the power 6 square enter divided by 36 cube multiplied by 10 to square cube. And here now let's check it What is 10 square cube? That is 10 to the power 6. What is 10 to the power 17 divided by 10 to the power 6? That is 10 to the power 11. Hence the calculation is 484 divided by 6 to the power 6 enter multiple by 10 to the power 11, that is 1.04 thousand megawatts. Okay, and now let's say the comparisons of pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 fighter planes versus pro-Israeli Saudi F-16 fighter planes as a perception of uh, Iranian revolutionary Sukhoi 37s. Okay. Now here we can see, first of all, let's check here pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 fighter planes. Okay. Now here we can see these points. When the flying distance between Saudi Arabia, Makkah, the capital city of Makkah, the privileged city of Saudi Arabia, and Tehran, the capital city of Iran, is 22,000 kilometers. Here, pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 fighter plane contains the kinetic power of 97.43 microwatts. And here the point is, pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 fighter plane can travel 5 years, 7 days, 4 hours. But in the same points, we can say Iranian Iranian Sukhoi 37 can travel 22,000 kilometers in 1 hour. And here, Iranian Sukhoi 37 contains kinetic powers of 1.04 thousand megawatts to attack on Makkah, the privileged city of Saudi Arabia. And here, Makkah is the, according with Sunni Muslims, Makkah is the privileged city of Saudi Arabia, where our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has been born. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam married Khadijatul Kubra. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was nourished by grandfather Abdul Muttalib and uncle Abu Talib, and laterly nourished by cousin brother Hazrat Ali radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And here that Makkah is easy to be attacked by Iranian revolutionary air terrorists containing Sukhoi 37 with the kinetic power of 1.04 thousand megawatts, just because Saudi Air Force used to support Palestinian terrorists. Hence, pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 fighter plane contains the kinetic powers of 97.43 microwatt, and that is the, and here we can see this level of Saudi Air Force is respected by Maulana Abu Toha Adnan. On the other hand, here we can say that which level of Saudi Air Force hated by Maulana Abu Toha Adnan. And here we can see that is the significant journey. Okay. Now here we can see the notifications moment. Well. We have explained that Maulana Abu Toha Adnan hates the Saudi Air Force who support Israel. Now let's see. Here we can see that pro-Israeli Saudi F-16 fighter planes contains kinetic powers of 48.4 trillion megawatts, where Iranian revolutionary terrorist Sukhoi 37 contains the kinetic powers of 1.04 thousand megawatts. And now here we can see the points. Well, what is 48.4 trillion? That is 48.4 multiplied by 10 to the power 12. And what is 1.04 thousand? That is 1.04 multiplied by 10 cube. Okay. What is 10 to the power 12 divided by 10 cube? That is 10 to the power 9. What is 48.4 divided by 1.04? Well, it is just like almost 48. Nearly 48. Okay. Now, here we can see that when Saudi Air Force start to support Israel, well, suddenly F-16 fighter planes became 48 billion powerful than Iranian revolutionary air terrorist Sukhoi 37, and that is the significant points that how Sukhoi how Iranian revolutionary air terrorists pays several monies to Maulana Abu Toha Adnan. Hence that Maulana Abu Toha Adnan start to hate Saudi Arabia and reject the Aqidah of Saudi Arabia, where Saudi Arabia support Israel in the war between Israel versus Iran. And what is the points? And now, this part of the Bangladesh. Well, yeah. What is the beneficiary of Bangladesh to support Israel, where enemy can be Iran? That is simple. Well, if the flying distance between Tehran of Iran and Dhaka of Bangladesh would be 22,000 kilometers, when Bangladesh would start to support Israel, here Bangladesh would contain the F-16 fighter planes with the kinetic powers of 48.4 trillion megawatts. First, where Iranian revolutionary Sukhoi 37 contains kinetic powers of 1.04 thousand megawatts. That means pro-Israel Bangladeshi F-16 fighter planes can be powerful 48 billion powerful than Iranian revolutionary Sukhoi 37. And here is the point. It is the points accordance with Bangladesh, because I am from Bangladesh. Okay. Now here we can see that is the significant points. Sukhoi Saudi Air Force construction is just to protect their air sovereignty from Iranian terrorists, where flying distance between Makkah and Tehran is 22,000 kilometers. Here we can see now let's compare pro-Palestinian F-16 versus pro-Israeli F-16 in the points of Iranian revolutionary Sukhoi 37 with the kinetic powers. Okay. Now here we can see What is 97.43 microwatts? That is 97.43 multiplied by 10 to the power negative 6 watts. Okay. Now let's see. Uh, 97.46 multiplied by 10 to the power negative 6 enter divided by 1.04 multiplied by 10 to the power 3. And here we can calculate 97 point, would be 98 multiplied by 10 to the power negative 9. Okay, that is here we can see in 1 billion fractions. Here we can see the points. So the Air Force would be 98 fraction out of 1 billion fraction weaker in front of Iranian revolutionary Sukhoi 37 if and only if Saudi Air Force would support Palestine. But when Saudi Air Force would support Israel, so the F-16 would be 48 billion more powerful than Iranian Sukhoi 37 made in Russia. And that is the points, and it is the significant of points. We do not need 98 microwatt kinetic powers of existing fighter planes. We need 48.4 trillion megawatts of kinetic powers of F-16 fighter planes just to protect our sovereignty. And that is the understanding of Saudi Air Force. Here, Saudi Air Force start to support Israel because it is the beneficiary for Saudi Arabia that they can be dominated on Iranian Sukhoi 37 planes. Okay. Now let's take the points. Well, let's take the points. What about Iranian revolutionary Chinese JF-17? Okay. First of all, here we can see the significant points as we can notify facts. Well. Now here we can say the significant journey points at the moment. Well, now here we can see this Iranian revolutionary would contain Chinese JF-17 fighter planes that can travel 22,000 kilometers in 1 minute. Okay. Now let's check it the kinetic powers of Iranian JF-17 Chinese fighter planes. Okay. Now here we can see here calculations is 10 to the power 5 multiplied by 22 square multiplied by 10 to the power 6 square enter divided by 60 cube. Okay. Now let's check it the points. What is 60 cube? That is 216 multiplied by 10 cube. Well, what is 10 to the power 17 divided by 10 cube? That is 10 to the power 14. Hence, the calculation is 10 to the power 14 multiplied by 484 divided by 216. Bracket close. And hence, the result is 224.08 million megawatts. Okay. Now here it is the points of million megawatts at the moment. Well, okay, that is a significant points. Now let's say in the perception of Iranian revolutionary JF-17 kinetic powers, Well, let's compare the pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 kinetic power versus pro-Israeli Saudi F-16 kinetic powers. Now, we know that pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 fighter planes kinetic power is 97.43 microwatts. That is nearly 98 multiplied by 10 to the power negative 6 watts. Okay. And now, and now here we can see that is the significant points. Iranian revolutionary JF-17 fighter planes contains the kinetic powers of 224.08 million megawatts. What is 1 million megawatts? That is 1 trillion watts, that is 10 to the power 12 watts. Now let's check it. 2. Well, I apologize, let's check it. 22. Oh, okay, let's take a bit. 224.08 multiplied by 10 to the power 12. That is 225, nearly 225 multiplied by 10 to the power 12. Now, that divided by 97.43 multiplied by 10 to the power negative 6. That is almost 10 to the power negative 4. Now let's see what is 10 to the power 12 divided by 10 to the power negative 4. That is 10 to the power 16. Okay. Now here we can see the points. When when pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 fighter planes is nearly with the kinetic powers of 10 to the power negative 4 watts. On the other hand, Iranian revolutionary JF-17 fighter planes contain kinetic powers of nearly 225 million megawatts. Now here we can see Iranian revolutionary JF-17 is 2.25 quadrillion more, 2.25 quintillion more powerful than pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16. Okay. And now, here is the points that why Maulana Abu Toha Adnan support pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 fighter planes, because pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 fighter planes is 2.25 quintillion weaker than Iranian revolutionary JF-17 fighter planes. Hence that it is almost impossible for pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 fighter planes to protect the air sovereignty of air sovereignty of Saudi Makkah city from Iranian revolutionary air terrorists. And it is the points. That is why Maulana Abu Toha Adnan used to support Saudi Arabia, particularly pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 fighter planes. But now, suddenly, what was the reason that Maulana Abu Toha Adnan started to hate Saudi F-16 fighter planes? Because Saudi F-16 fighter planes became pro-Israeli Saudi F-16 fighter planes. And here, let's check it. What is the significant points we could see? Okay. Now, significant point is that Saudi Arabia, when Saudi F-16 fighter planes became pro-Israeli Saudi F-16 fighter planes, suddenly, pro-Israeli Saudi F-16 fighter planes contains the kinetic powers of 48.4 trillion megawatts, where Iranian revolutionary JF-17 fighter planes contains kinetic powers of 224.08 million megawatts. Okay, now let's see 48.4 multiplied by 10 to the power 12 divided by 224.08 multiplied by 10 to the power 6. What is 224.08 multiplied by 10 to the power 6? That is 22.408 multiplied by 10 to the power 7. Now let's see. What is 10 to the power 12 divided by 10 to the power 7? That is 10 to the power 5. Okay. What is 48 divided by 20? Well, what is 48.4 divided by 22.408? It is nearly 2. Okay. Well, now here we can see when that means the pro-Israeli Saudi F-16 fighter planes is 200,000 more powerful than Iranian revolutionary JF-17 planes, and that is the issues for Maulana Abu Toha Adnan, and that is why Maulana Abu Toha Adnan start to head pro-Israeli Saudi F-16 fighter planes. Okay, now let's start the compare. The compare is significance. Here compare is the significant momentums. As we can see, it is occupied or well F-16 when Saudi F-16 fighter plane is pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 fighter planes. Here Saudi F-16 pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 fighter planes is according with kinetic power Saudi take rest. Pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 fighter plane is 2.25 quintillion weaker than Iranian revolutionary JF-17 fighter planes, where pro-Israeli Saudi F-16 fighter plane is 200,000 times more powerful than Iranian revolutionary JF-17 is, and that is the moment. Here we can see the points. Now, when my enemy country contains JF-17 fighter planes, we need F-16 fighter planes that should be 200,000 times more powerful than enemy's JF-17 fighter planes, and it is every nationalist country understands, and here every nationalist Muslim country understands that, and hence that Saudi Arabia, particularly Saudi Air Force, understand the points, and it is the reason that why Saudi Arabia start to support Israel in the war between Israel versus Iran, because it is the military beneficial for Saudi Arabia, and the irony is that Maulana Abu Toha Adnan support pro-Palestinian Saudi Air Force to be 2.25 quintillion weaker than Iranian revolutionary JF-17 to protect the air sovereignty of Saudi Makkah city, where Maulana Abu Toha Adnan hates pro-Israeli F-16 fighter plane to be 200,000 times more powerful than 200,000 times more powerful than Iranian revolutionary JF-17 to protect the air sovereignty of Saudi Makkah city, where, according with Saudi Arabia, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, born in Makkah, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam married Khadijatul Kubra in Makkah, where Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's age was 25 years and Khadijatul Kubra's age was 40 years. Okay. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam gets Nabuwat to become prophet in 610. It is when Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam age is 40 years, and that is in Makkah city, the privileged city of Saudi Arabia. This Makkah city can get the security threats from Iranian revolutionary JF-17 when Saudi F-16 fighter plane is pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 fighter planes. But what if Saudi airplanes becomes pro-Israeli the F-16 fighter planes? That here Makkah city, where Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam enter a 53 years of the age of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was spent in Makkah city, that can be secured by pro-Israeli Saudi F-16 fighter planes. And that is the significant moments as we could see. Because Israeli F-16 fighter planes is 200,000 times more powerful than Iranian revolutionary JF-17 planes. It was the points of kinetic powers. But now, here I forgot to mention the points of the electric battery. Okay, and here I would try to see that. Okay, now here we can see that is the significant finds at the moment. Well, and now here we can see it is the points. Well, now we know that Saudi pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 fighter planes can travel 22,000 kilometers in 5 years, 7 days, 4 hours. Well, here battery charge capability is 4.29 multiplied by 10 to the power negative 3 ampere per hours, and battery charges for 22,000 hours is 94.38 ampere per hours. And now when we are talking about pro-Israeli Saudi F-16 fighter planes. Well, pro-Israeli Saudi F-16 fighter planes can travel 22,000 kilometers in 1 second. Here battery charge capacity is 27 trillion ampere per hour for 1 second, and battery charge capacity for 22,000 hours is 594 quadrillion ampere per hours. Okay, and now let's talk about the points. When we are talking about the Russians, about the Iranian revolutionary Sukhoi 37s, here when the flying distance is 22,000 kilometers in the flying time of 1 hour, hence here battery charge capacity is 2.1 million ampere per hours, where battery charge for 22,000 hours is 4.62 billion ampere per hours. And now let's check it the points. When we are talking about the Chinese electric JF-70, here flying distance is 22,000 kilometers in 1 minute. Here battery charging capacity is 7.5 billion ampere per hours. Here battery charge for 22,000 hours is 165 trillion ampere per hours. Okay, now let's check it the points. How can we calculate the points? Okay, now here is the significant moments that how can we calculate the battery charge capacity as an ampere per hour. Okay, let's check it. What is the definitions of volt? Now the definition of volt is the simple that we have to move the 1 coulomb charges from one place to another place, and how much work I have done to move 1 coulomb charge for one place to another place, that is the volt. Here the equation of volt is kinetic energy divided by numbers of charges. And what is the kinetic energy? The kinetic energy is the capability of work, how much work I have done. Okay, now here is the significant points we could see. Well, and now what we know the voltage is 500 volt, and here let's talk about the points. Well, now here we can see, let's talk about the significant moments that we could see when the topic is pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 fighter planes. Here equation of charge capacity is half of weight of pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 fighter planes weight multiplied by distance square enter divided by bracket of travel time square multiplied by volt bracket close. And here the equation is 484 multiplied by 10 to the power 17 divided by bracket of 792 square divided by 10 multiplied by 10 to the power 5 square multiplied by 500 bracket close. And here the answer is 42.9 multiplied by 10 to the power negative 3 ampere per hour. Now let's charge this. The battery charge for 22,000 hours is, here we can see 4.29 multiplied by 10 to the power negative 3 multiplied by 22 multiplied by 10 cube is 94.28 ampere per hour. But here we can see the points. Let's find the topics about some significant moments. Here topic is pro-Israeli F-16 fighter planes. Okay. Now here, now in this points, okay. Now in this points here we can see the equation F16 fighter planes contains the kinetic energy of 484 multiplied by 10 to the power 17 joules, and the equation is kinetic energy divided by volt, that is 484 multiplied by 10 to the power 17 divided by 500, that is 27 trillion ampere per hours. And here we have to notice by this, well, pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 fighter plane contains the battery charge for 22,000 hours is 95 ampere per hour. On the other hand, pro-Israeli pro-Israeli ampere Saudi F-16 fighter planes contains the battery charges of 27 trillion ampere per hour for 1 second battery charges. That means it is the significant moment that pro-Israeli F-16 fighter planes 1 second battery charges is more current efficient than pro-Palestinian F-16 Saudi F-16 fighter planes the entire 22,000 hours. And here is the point where is 94.28 ampere per hour and where is 27 trillion ampere per hour. That is the significant achievement for Saudi Air Force because Saudi Air Force support Israel. But here I did not mention 22,000 hours battery charges of pro-Israel Saudi F-16 fighter planes. Now here 27 multiplied by 10 to the power 12 multiplied by 22 multiplied by 10 to the power 3, that is 594 quadrillion ampere per hours. Now where is 94.28 ampere per hour and where is 594 quadrillion ampere per hour? And that is the significant advantage of battery charge for Saudi F-16 fighter planes just because Saudi Air Force start to support pro-Israel, and that is the significant issues for Maulana Abu Toha Adnan. Here is the points that why Maulana Abu Toha Adnan hates Saudi Air Force to support pro-Israel. I mean Maulana Abu, that is why, what is the reason that Maulana Abu Toha Adnan hates Saudi Air Force to support Israel in the war between Israel versus Iran. Okay, and now here is the significant points about what if we can talk about the Iranian revolutionary Russian Sukhoi 37s. Okay, now here it is the points. Okay, here battery charges capacity is equation is half of weight of Russian Sukhoi 37 multiplied by distance square enter divided by bracket of travel time square multiplied by voltage bracket close. Here calculation is 484 multiplied by 10 to the power 70 enter divided by bracket of 36 square multiplied by 10 to the power 4 multiplied by 500. And here the answer is 2.1 million ampere per hours. Okay, now here we can say the significant topics at the moment. Well, pro-Palestinian enter 22. I mean, pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 battery charge for entire 22,000 hours is 94.28 ampere per hour. And Iranian Revolutionary Russian Sukhoi 37 contains battery charges for 1 second is 7.1 million ampere per hour, where is 94.28 ampere per hour, and where is 7.1 million ampere per hour. Okay, what is 10 to the power 6 subtract by, I apologize, what is 10 to the power 6 divided by 100? That is 10 to the power 4. That means here Russian Iranian Revolutionary Sukhoi 37 is 71,000 more battery charge efficiency as a 1 second than Saudi pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 battery charges for 22,000 hours. But here I did not mention the Iranian Revolutionary Sukhoi 37 for 22,000 hours. That is here 4.62 billion ampere per hour. Okay. Now where is 94.28 ampere per hour, and where is 4.62 billion ampere per hour? Well, that is here we can see the points for in the perception of 22,000 hours. So Iranian Revolutionary Sukhoi 37 is 462 million more efficient than pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 in the base of battery charge capacity. Okay, but now here is the points that what now here is the points that what if Saudi F-16 fighter planes became pro-Israeli Saudi F-16 fighter planes. Here we can see the points. Well, now let's check it. Well, now now here we can see pro-Israeli Saudi F-16 fighter planes contains the battery charge 1 second capacity is 27 trillion ampere per hour. It is the points. And now what is the moment? The moment is Iranian Revolutionary Sukhoi 37 contains 22,000 hours battery charge capacity of 4.62 billion ampere per hour. Where is 4.62 billion ampere per hour as 22,000 hour battery charge, and where is 27 trillion ampere per hour as 1 second battery charge? Well, here Israeli, pro-Israel Saudi F-16 fighter planes contains the advantage to defeat the Iranian Revolutionary Air terrorists. Okay. Now what is the more efficiency? Here we can see 27 multiplied by 10 to the power 12 divided by 4.62 multiplied by 10 to the power 9. That is nearly 27 multiplied by 10 to the power 12 divided by 5 divided by 10 to the power 9. Here we can see 54 multiplied by 10 to the power 12 divided by 10 to the power 10. That is that we can say pro-Israeli. Now here we can say the points pro-Israeli F-16 Saudi is F-16 fighter planes is almost 5,400 times more efficient as than Iranian revolutionary Sukhoi 37s, where Iranian revolutionary Sukhoi 37 battery charges is 22,000 hours, and Israeli pro-Israel Saudi F-16 battery charges capacity is accordance with 1 second. Now let's talk about the points. What is the battery charge efficiency in 22,000 hours? Here is pro-Israel Saudi F-16 fighter planes contains 594 quadrillion ampere per hour, where Iranian revolutionary Sukhoi 37s contain 4.62 billion ampere per hour. Now here we can see 594 multiplied by 10 to the power 15 enter divided by bracket of 5 multiplied by 10 to the power 9. That is, we can say what is the 594 multiplied by 2? 59 multiplied by 2 is 118. Okay, that is 1184 multiplied by 10 to the power 15 divided by 10 to the power 10. That is, when the topic is battery charge efficient capacity in for 22,000 hours. Here pro-Israeli Saudi F-16 is almost 1184 multiplied by 10 to the power 5 times more efficient than Iranian revolutionary Sukhoi 37s, and that is the point. It is as a more efficient the points, and when we our enemy contends the Russian Sukhoi 37s, their battery charge capacity would be 4.62 billion ampere per hour for 22 hours. 22,000 hours. Hence, for 22,000 hours battery capacity, we need 594 quadrillion ampere per hour battery capacity. And here, every progressive Muslim country understands. Hence, it is probably so the Air Force understands. That is why so the Air Force support Israel, and that is the problems accordance with Maulana Abu Toha Adnan. Hence, that is the reason why Abu Toha Adnan start to hate the pro-Israeli. So, okay. So the F-16 fighter plane. Okay. Now here we can say it is the significant points that we could notify facts at the moment. Well, now here we can see these points. What about when Iranian revolutionary air terrorists with Chinese JF-17? Here, what is the points? Battery charge capacity is the equation of battery charge capacity is 484 multiplied by 10 to the power 17 enter divided by 3600 divided by 500, that is 7.5 billion ampere per hours. Hence, the battery capacity for 22,000 hours is 7.5 multiplied by 10 to the power 9 multiple by 22 multiple by 10 cube, that is 164 trillion ampere per hours. And here is the points as I can explain. Okay, here is the point. Let me explain the moments. Here we can say that is the significant point we could tell. Well, Chinese here we can say that points. Chinese Chinese JF-17 used by Iranian Revolutionary Air Terrorists contains 1 second battery capacity as 7.5 billion ampere per hour, where pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 contains 22,000 hours battery charge capacity to be 94.28 ampere per hour. Where is here 100 ampere per hour, and where is 7.5 billion ampere per hour? Okay, 10 to the power 9 divided by 100, that is 10 to the power 7. Okay, now here that means Iranian revolutionaries JF-17 fighter plane is 75 million times more efficient than here pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 fighter planes, where pro-Palestinian Saudi F-16 fighter planes battery charge capacity for 22,000 hours, and Iranian Revolutionary JF-17 battery charge capacity is only for 1 second. And now, what if Saudi F-16 fighter planes became pro-Israeli Saudi F-16 fighter planes? Here the significant change we could notice the points. Well, now Iranian Revolutionary JF-17 contains 22,000 hours battery charge capacity for to be 165 trillion ampere per hour. But on the other hand, here we can see pro-Israel Saudi F-16 fighter planes contains that 1 second battery charges to be 27 trillion ampere per hour. And where is 27 trillion ampere per hour, and where is 165 trillion ampere per hour? And here we can say in these times Iranian Revolutionary one is in this time Iranian Revolutionary JF-17 can be more efficient than pro-Israeli Saudi F-16 fighter planes. Here we can say, but the calculation is in the base of Saudi pro-Israeli Saudi F-16 battery capacity for 1 second versus Iranian Revolutionary JF-17 battery capacity for 22,000 hours. And here we can see the points. What is 165 divided by 27? And here we can say that is 5. Iranian Revolutionary JF-70 can be 5 times powerful than Israeli pro-Israel Saudi F-16 fighter planes. But what is in the base? In the base of Saudi pro-Israeli Saudi F-16 fighter planes battery capacity for 1 second versus Iranian Revolutionary JF-17 battery capacity for 22,000 hours. And now here we can say what is the calculations about the battery capacity of 22,000 hours, both for both from pro-Israeli Saudi F-16 fighter planes versus Iranian revolutionary J-17 fighter planes. Now let's see. For battery capacity of pro-Israel Saudi, for 22,000 hours, pro-Israeli Saudi F-16 battery capacity is almost here 594 quadrillion ampere per hour. On the other hand, here Iranian revolutionary JF-17 contains the battery capacity for 165 trillion ampere per hour for 22,000 hours. And where is 165 trillion ampere per hour and where is 594 quadrillion ampere per hour? And here pro-Israeli Saudi F-16 fighter planes get the advantage for it. And how? Let's calculate. 594 multiplied by 10 to the power 15 divided by bracket of 165 multiplied by 10 to the power 12 bracket close. What is 10 to the power 15 divided by 10 to the power 12? That is 10 cube. And what is 594 divided by 165? That is almost something like 3.7. That means pro-Israeli Saudi F-16 fighter planes is more 3,700 more efficient than Iranian revolutionary JF-17, where the base is the battery capacity for 22,000 hours. And that is the point that how Israel is more efficient to protect the air sovereignty of Saudi Makkah city. And that is the problematic for Maulana Abu Toha Adnan, and that is why Maulana Abu Toha Adnan always hate Saudi Air Force to support the Israel in the war between Israel versus Iran. And that is the significant moment, the points. Well, now we think that Maulana Abu Toha Adnan reject the Akita of Saudi Arabia to support Israel in the war between Israel versus Iran. But reality is Maulana Abu Toha Adnan scared that pro-Israeli Saudi F-16 fighter planes is more efficient to protect the sovereignty of Saudi Arabia from any enemies, where enemy can be Iranian revolutionary, enemy can be Afghanistan, Taliban, and enemy can be Bangladeshi NC, National Citizen Party. And that is the Bangladesh July fighter. And that is why Maulana Abu Toha Adnan start to hate the Islamic Aqidah of Saudi Arabia in the mouth reason to support Israel, and in the real reason to get the more efficiency to protect the air sovereignty of Saudi Arabia. And that is the significant moments at the points. Okay, now here is all what I have mentioned about the so the efficiency. But now I think I need the significant points where the next life would be probably Saudi Navy to protect the Saudi naval sovereignty against Iranian revolutionary naval terrorists. Still then, see you then. Khuda Hafiz. Love you.